Well, hello again. This is John Byrne with Poets&Quants. Welcome to our careers panel for business undergraduates. As before, we have three terrific schools representing three great business major programs. Indiana University's Kelley School of Business, the University of Illinois Gies College of Business, and Miami University's Farmer School of Business. We are going to talk about careers. One of the major reasons why business undergraduate education is so popular, in fact, the most popular major in America, is because people get jobs at graduation, and the jobs that they get are really good jobs, jobs that they want with great companies who eagerly snap up students for their training. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So from Kelley, we have a very familiar face, Rebecca Cook, who is Executive Director of Kelley Career Services. From Gies, we have Christina Wright, who is Director of the Office of Career and Professional Development. And from Farmer, we have Michael Webb, who is the Director of Career Development at the Farmer School of Business. Welcome, everyone. So let's begin with what does the Career Services Office actually do? Obviously, universities have their own career services offices. Why do business schools, or at least good business schools, have their own separate offices? Rebecca?
Sure. Hello, everybody. And so generally, I'd say business schools have their own career services office because they're specifically to serve the business students and provide the very targeted programming and needs of the business students. I'd say, like at Kelley, our students tend to be very go-getters. They're very involved. I was just mentioning we have an event going on now that about 1,000 students are showing up to. So with about 32 employers or so. And so there's these students need some more specialized training. And I think employers are expecting that from business students. So our goal is to provide all of these services, again, to those students. And again, typically the business student tends to be a bit more involved, ready to go, wants to jump in. So we need to meet them where they're at and provide them everything they need to be successful.
Michael, does Farmer have a careers curriculum to speak?
Yeah, we've designed a 4-year program specifically so students can have benchmarks and a scaffolding of progress along the way to lead them to the success to lead them down a successful path. So that starts first year with exploration and networking and getting all those fundamental skills right, and then building year over year from that.
Christine, is that true at Gies as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Like Michael said, we really look at this pathway as a 4-year investment. So I think one of the things that's unique about Gies is that we actually integrate this career development into required courses. So while we do offer, a standalone career resource office for students to come in and do that one-on-one advising, we actually meet all the students in the classroom. So, 800 and so freshmen will see my team starting the first couple of weeks of the semester, and they'll see a sophomore year, junior year, and even senior year in that classroom. So we're making sure we're connecting with the students, and providing them the information when they need it and when it's relevant to them on their career journey.
And Rebecca, I know that Kelley has a program called Compass. Explain what that does.
Compass, like Christina's program, is integrated into the curriculum. So all first-year students have to take Compass 1, second-year students Compass 2, third-year students Compass 3. And Compass 1, everybody, so this year we have 2,055 freshmen. And so they all take Compass 1, and that really delves into the personal brand. Who are they? How are they going to begin to tell that story? What are their skills, their interests, their values? How can they begin talking about themselves to potential employers and figuring out what they want to do? So they spend an entire semester working on that. And then Compass 2 builds into more the resume, the LinkedIn, how do I mock interview? And so my office is involved at that point, where we're doing all the mock interviews and resume reviews. So actually just in a couple of weeks, we'll be doing about 3,000 of those.
3,000, wow.
It's large. And then for Compass 3, that really delves more into teamwork and leadership. So how do I really create functional teams? And by then you've probably been on some teams that maybe were dysfunctional or not quite as functional as you hoped. So how can you build on that and learn from those experiences and become a better future employee?
Right. What about year 4? Is there a year 4
Year
thing?
4, it's not, there's no more Compass, but it really, that's where we leverage everything in our career services center. So I think Christina mentioned, you have classes, but then you also have all the programming through our center. So that's where we then really try to bring a lot of those seniors back in if they're still seeking. I mean, a lot of them will be all locked up with jobs or future opportunities in graduate school.
Now, is there one-on-one coaching or mentoring in the program, Rebecca?
There is, yes. So within our office, we have 10 professional coaches and 25 peer coaches, and they students can drop in to visit with peer coaches every weekday from 10 to 3, or they can make appointments with our professional coaches, and those are throughout the day and the evenings. So there's lots of opportunities for students to come in and meet one-on-one, starting right away as a freshman.
Wow. Is that true at Gies as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We have around 9 professional staff, as well as a team of both graduate level LER students, and those are students who are going to be professionals in HR, who are coming in to coach our students from their insights in HR, as well as case coaches. So a good number of our students are interested in consulting, and so we provide additional resources around preparing for the case interview process. And so, like most offices, we offer that one-on-one advising, as well as, of course, a drop-in service, and then access through our virtual portal. So if you don't want to come in and it's midnight, you can submit a question and get a response, the next day.
And Michael, how does Farmer handle mentoring or coaching?
So we have a combination. We've got the professional staff, of course. We're a bit smaller than Kelley or Gies, just because our student body is a bit smaller. We're not one of the massive Big Ten schools. But similar, we have a collection of peer coaches that have been with us for several years, that have been trained and offer drop-in hours in what we call our student lounge, which is a little more informal of a business setting for those students who are a little intimidated to come to the Career Center for the first time. And then, of course, we have a staff of a staff of professional coaches that really specialize in certain majors. So because the needs of a marketing major are going to be very different than the needs of a business analytics major in a lot of cases,
Sure.
and a finance major in a lot of cases. So we really try to specialize that out a bit. And then we partner with our main career center, our central career center, for additional information and services. So if a person needs an overall mock interview versus a very specific, like a case or a technical interview, we feel comfortable partnering with them as well. So trying to leverage all the resources. We also really try to utilize our alumni network quite a bit. Those alumni who have been in careers, and especially the young alumni who have recently gone through all these interview processes, they're great about giving back, and they can be very, very effective mentors and coaches to current students going through the process.
Yep. Now, Michael, what do you think employers most appreciate about your students?
They are prepared, and they're prepared from basically year one. So Miami has a somewhat unique process. The first year, all freshmen go through what we call the FYIC, the first year integrated core, which is a series of 4 classes that work together and basically function as a consulting project. And so students get that exposure early. And so they're prepared a little bit early. And I think that gives our students a bit of an advantage. And it's something that our employers have really come back and noticed and really appreciate. I think and it's probably somewhat similar with Rebecca and Christina. I think about a third of our students end up going into consulting. So it's a great experience right off the bat.
Rebecca, what would employers say about your students?
Our students are really good, again, generally prepared in pretty much everything, but also I'd say within Excel, we start training students on Excel literally their first semester. So our students come out as essentially Excel wizards. Whether they love it or not is kind of irrelevant. It's just that they are. And then also a lot of presentations. So they also start presenting day one, literally in a class that they take. And so really becoming good and comfortable standing up in front of people, whether that's individually or as a group. So I think those are two skill sets that really help our Kelley students stand out. And generally just the student that comes here, they're ready to roll up their sleeves. They're ready just to jump in. And I would guess that, at Gies and Farmer too, same probably type of student, but it's, our students are just ready to go.
Yeah. Christina, why don't you take that question as well? What do employers most appreciate about the Gies student?
Yeah, well, I think to echo a little bit of what's been said, but I think to add to that, all of our students engage in experiential learning by their junior year. So they're working on a project with a real client. They have real deliverables. And I think that real world experience really helps to put that polish on our students, both in terms of their adaptability, getting thrown into a project that they may have a role that they haven't had classes in yet. And so being able to understand and make the most of that experience, and then their ability to storytell, to talk about that experience both to a client as well as to a future employer about the value of what they've learned and how that transfers to what a future employer is looking for. So I think that professional experience really helps our students to be well prepared.
Great. Christina, what percentage of your students actually participate in an internship during their experience at the school?
I would say a high volume of our students participate in internship. We don't have a required reporting methodology of tracking internships, but we do an annual survey on internships, and over half of our students take the survey, and a really high percentage of our students start with internships following either their freshman or sophomore year, which is somewhat early. And then most students will have secured an internship following their junior year as well. So a good number of our students are doing 2 or more internships. And so really getting that hands-on experience.
Rebecca, what's it like at Kelley for internships?
It's something very similar, but the vast majority of our students are doing 2, even 3 internships over their time here. But I'd say overall, it's probably like 93, 94% that actually do officially have at least one internship. Those that don't often have very specific reasons. Maybe they're taking more classes, studying abroad, things like that. But pretty much everybody has a summer experience of some way, but vast majority is official, like professional internships.
Michael, I'm assuming it's the same story at Farmer, is it?
Yeah, pretty much. We don't require an internship, but it is part of that 4-year plan is to have at least 2. The one after the sophomore year being kind of experimental, and the one after the junior year, we want you to come back with an offer by now, actually, so you can enjoy your senior year.
Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit about the most recent graduating class. What were the placement rates 3 months after graduation? What kind of careers did they pursue? Michael, you mentioned earlier that 30% of your students go into consulting. Give us a little more detail on the class.
Yeah, we've got quite a few that go into consulting, and they typically fall, and I assume this is pretty much static across the board. And one of the typical ABCs: accounting, banking, consulting, and that's where we see probably a good 60 to 70% of our students go. And then we get into the more corporate careers. So anything from insurance to manufacturing to design and advertising. It kind of runs the gamut. After that, our placement rates right after graduation, we're looking at mid 80s in terms of percentage that has climbed into the low 90s right now. We've seen some softening compared to in the past, just because of the economic state, in particular in consulting. So it's been a little trickier, but we're really seeing some alternative roles coming available.
Great. Rebecca, what's it like at Kelley?
Yeah, well, very similar to what Michael just said. It's a significant portion of our students go into financial type careers. Consulting, those would be probably your 2 biggest. Supply chain, marketing, business economics is a growing space. So it's really all over the board. People can come in and do whatever they want. And so it's a lot of opportunities there that mean, again, it's people come in. I know there's a question here on entrepreneurship. Some people come in and want to start their own company, or they want to do it in like 5 years. So what do they do in that meantime? So we help them through that process. In terms of numbers at graduation, we were pretty much upper 80s. And then right now we're pretty much upper 90s in terms of percentage.
Great. Christine, is that same story at Gies?
Yeah, absolutely. Consulting has been a trending career for many of our students for the past several years. And then beyond that, we see a lot of students interested both in accounting and then financial roles. Beyond that, we're seeing a lot of students interested in information systems and integrating that type of work into their careers. But certainly we have supply chain and a large group of students interested in marketing career paths as well. So, I think like others have said, our students are interested in a wide variety of careers, but we do have some really hot markets right now for some of our top students. And our outcomes, I think, looking at this most recent graduating class, we're at about 98% outcomes for our students.
That's great. So here's a question from Amy, and this is related to my previous questions about the careers that your students are pursuing. To what extent do you support students seeking to apply their business knowledge and skills to non-traditional careers, primarily nonprofit, social service, or healthcare? Christina, let's stay with you on that.
Absolutely, yeah. We do see, I think, a rising trend of our students really being interested in finding work that aligns with their values. And so seeing this trend of students moving outside of maybe more traditional business roles is something that aligns with this, I think, current population of students. And so the transferable skills that they learn here in Gies, I think, really set them up well to be successful in these career paths. Not only that, but we have a wide variety and a large number of alumni. So students are making those connections early in their career, and they're identifying role models that can help them move into those career paths, even if it's outside of accounting or consulting roles.
And Amy, I'm thinking you're going to find your tribe that wants to do this at business school, because increasingly your generation is very interested in making a meaningful difference socially. And there are a lot of business school students who understand that, getting the knowledge of how to work with other people and collaborate effectively with them and leading them, and then the basics of any organization, from accounting to marketing to strategy, is helpful in whatever field you choose. And you're going to find many business students who aren't going to go into consulting or finance or marketing, but want to apply their skills in the way that you are suggesting. And all of these schools do a great job in helping with independent job searches to help you get that job. Another question that I think is kind of interesting is, how do employers view students who major or concentrate in entrepreneurship? Obviously, if you're doing that, but you're still seeking a traditional business job, would your employer think, oh, well, this person really not interested in this job? This is kind of like a little transition before they go and start their own thing. Michael, your thoughts?
So I came from the other side of the fence. I came from being a campus recruiter and kind of jumped to this side. When I saw that on a resume, I knew that student thought different, and they weren't necessarily going to jump and start their own business. That may be a long-term goal, but entrepreneurship, at least in my experience in working with students and getting into the program at Miami, it is more about a way of thinking, a way of seeing things, and being much more willing to take different approaches and take riskier approaches sometimes to common problems. And so it was always a plus to me, because I was going to get somebody who was a little different, who wasn't as straight-laced. And a lot of times that's a good thing. That diversity of thought and diversity of perspective, it's always a good thing. And I read the second part, the perception that the student is going to only want to go into starting their own business. We get that more as a perception from other students as opposed to employers. So I think the employers have realized the value of that degree. And I think but I do see a lot of students like, well, I don't want to go into entrepreneurship, but I'm not planning on starting my own business. No, that's not necessarily the only reason to go
And I'll add to this. I mean, most schools do not teach entrepreneurship to help you start a business. Yes, you might be able to do that, but they're trying to teach you an entrepreneurial mindset that's valued by all employers. Because every employer wants you to be able to do things with few resources, do them quickly, and understand the basics of how that gets done, which is really the core of what entrepreneurship is. So you major in entrepreneurship, and you tell your future employer, hey, what I was trained in is having a really entrepreneurial mindset, getting things done quickly with the least resources, and they will love you. Let me tell you, okay? Here's one for Rebecca. What are the financial and investment companies that recruit from your school?
All of them. I mean, I'm joking, but I'm actually kind of serious. We like 2/3 of our students are finance majors. They're usually also dual majoring in something else, but we have a very large population that goes into financial services of some sort. So we have a lot of people going in investment banking, investment management, corporate finance, accounting. You know, it's really all those different spaces, but we do truly have all the big investment banks and boutiques and middle markets and investment management firms and private wealth firms. I mean, yeah, I have a lot of these.
And Michael's shaking his head and Christina's shaking her head. Yes. You know, I mean, banking and finance is a core discipline at every business school. And finance and banking companies recruit pretty heavily at all the business schools, and particularly these three, given their prominence and how well regarded they are. I'll answer this next, but are these sessions recorded and available on P&Q? Absolutely, on demand, and they'll be up very quickly, so you can access them and actually run the tape again if you'd like. I want to ask about alumni networks because, you know, when you go to a school and you avail yourself of business education, one of the key aspects of this is sort of the so-called network. And I wonder if each of you might comment a little bit about your alumni, how welcoming they are to new graduates or with new graduates, and how supportive or involved they are in the school. Michael, let's start with you.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about our alumni. And if you've been to Oxford, Ohio, it is about as quintessential a small, lovely college town as you can find. Not to take anything away from Bloomington or Champaign. I've been there many times to both, and they're both great places as well. So our alumni, they'll find any excuse to come back if they can. Even if they can't, we had an evening event in New York. We had a Wall Street week where we took about 40 finance and economic students out to New York. We hosted a reception one evening and had about 60 to 70 alumni show up on a Wednesday evening just to meet with our students because they wanted to give back. And they ranged from folks that were a year or two, had only graduated a year or two before, that were basically taking time out of the grunt life of being an investment banker and that hecticness to come back, all the way to, for those of us old enough to remember Wally Zerbiak, the great Miami basketball player and current broadcaster for the Yes Network out there, showed up. And it was just that kind of commitment. And we see that day in, day out. Alumni reaching out directly to me saying, hey, I've got this one-off internship. I'm looking for a few Miami students. How can you help me out? I'd love to recruit back. They just love to pull our students back and get back on campus as much as they can.
Now, Christina, I've been to your campus to watch Larry Gies, the namesake of the school, teach in a class. But you tell us about your alumni and how engaged they are.
Yeah, I think Larry Gies is the perfect example of somebody who genuinely loves our students and looks for opportunities to help them make that connection for their future. So Larry comes back and he teaches in the class, but we have so many alumni that are excited to be in the classroom and share that industry perspective with our students. And of course, liven up the class content a little bit when you get to hear an alumni talk about their daily life and what does it really mean to do X as their career. So I think that's one of the most engaging ways our alumni really interact with our students. But in addition to that, we offer a number of programs between tracks where we might visit an employer and informational interviews where we actually match our students up with a professional in a career field they're interested in to help them bridge that gap and make that introduction to an alumni. So, again, like Michael said, I think just really excited alumni to engage with our students and provide them a helping hand and career insight.
And Rebecca, I know the Kelley network is very strong.
It is, and large. So we have, I think it's 130,000 living alumni right now, something like that. But the cool thing is they want to talk to our students. I mean, very much like Christina and Michael's alumni. It's, all three of these schools have fabulous alumni networks, and they love coming back. And it's pretty much all the employers that come, they are alums. I just was downstairs before this talking to a lot of alums. They're like so excited to come back, haven't been back in, 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, whatever. They love talking to the students and connecting. And I think, Michael, you mentioned it's just the time, right? They're willing to give the time and the effort. So connecting those students with alumni and really creating those relationships is key. And then it continues to work once they graduate. I mean, this is how you're going to build your career. You're going to continue to be connected with the alums from your undergraduate institution.
Now, Rebecca, here's a question from Anon. He asks, how is business analytics as a career for undergraduates? What does it look like? Do students get an opportunity to add knowledge like artificial intelligence that is going to be integrated in all businesses going forward? What do you say?
Sure. Well, business analytics is huge, and it's the demand for students who understand it is only growing. So what we have at Kelley, we don't have minors, we have co-majors. I'm not sure why, but we do. And so one of ours is business analytics, and I would say a vast majority of our students combine business analytics with whatever major. So it can be tied to marketing. It's extremely important in marketing, right? It's extremely important in supply chain and finance, in all those different areas. And it really is an opportunity for students to really understand data, understand how it works, how can I make something better. So I actually highly, highly recommend students to at least co-major, co-minor, whatever that is, in business analytics, because it's relevant in pretty much anything. And then tying in the artificial intelligence. I mean, I think that's coming through in all different areas now. Really, I mean, pretty much every major that's tying to in some way. So really having, again, those skill sets is very valuable.
And Michael, you're nodding your head, and I know that since you had recruited students in the past, their ability to deal with data smartly and intelligently is critical in any discipline today.
Yeah, everything is data driven, and where marketing used to seem to be the domain more of sales and branding and on the graphic side, there's been a huge push to marketing analytics. And so students need those those analytical skills, and not only to be able to mine the data, but also to be able to present it and talk about it and sell the solutions. And we're seeing that throughout. And so, like Rebecca, we are really pushing the business analytics co-major or full major, and we're getting a lot of success with it. And it's a field that's consistently growing. That one's not going to go away anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, organizations are swimming in data. They're overwhelmed with it. They don't really know exactly how to use it. And what business analytics teaches you is to use data for more effective business decisions, to inform decisions and remove risk out of the decisions. So in every discipline and every aspect of business, this is a core element, and it's much in need. Now, Christina, here's a question. It's a two-part question. One of the parts requires that you take out a crystal ball, and one is kind of current. And the question is, which business specializations are in greatest demand right now? And then which will be in the next 10 years? That's the crystal ball part. Christina, what do you think?
Well, I think we've already touched just this last question on kind of the in-demand skill set, and that's definitely the analytics. We certainly have seen also that our employers are looking for students who are familiar with and comfortable using AI. But one of the things that I talk with my students about is that within the next 5 years, many of our students will be on to jobs that we don't even know that exist today.
True.
We cannot predict how the technology is going to impact what I would say is like intellectual careers. And so for the students who want to kind of what I would say future proof their career, it's really about that flexibility, adaptability, the soft skills, being able to have the ability to use technology and adapt and be able to move into a role that didn't exist when you were a college graduate, but now has become the next best role. So I don't have any hard, here's predictions of where I think we're going to be at next, but I do think that as technology evolves, much of our careers will evolve to adapt to that as well.
And Rebecca, among the majors that Kelley offers, what are the most popular?
Finance would be the most popular. Then with business analytics, again, is kind of a minor-ish type thing. I'd say marketing is the second largest usually. And then consulting kind of covers lots of different majors. So it could be a management major. A lot of our finance students go into consulting. So it really is a wide spread.
And at Gies, I would think number one is accounting. Am I right?
Yep, you're correct, with finance following up second. Yeah.
Right. And Michael, how about at Farmer?
Finance is our largest major. It's the largest major in the entire campus. So finance is top dog, and then followed pretty closely by marketing. So those are two of our top three majors across campus.
So Michael, take out your crystal ball. 10 years from now, what's it going to look like?
I'm kind of with Christina, and it's kind of a cop-out answer, but we just don't know. I think 10 years ago, no one would have seen supply chain as such a booming
True.
major, but COVID has exposed that. I will say the one that is not going to go away anytime soon and is in incredible demand, and it will be for the foreseeable future, is accounting. And it sounds so simple and kind of old school, but it is a major that is going to stick around. It's recession proof, and everybody needs it. I mean, it's funny. Every company I talk to, what are you looking for? Looking for accountancy students, whether they're manufacturing companies, consulting companies, insurance companies, and the big four, of course. But everybody needs accountants.
And the supply does not meet the demand, and
Not at all.
There's a big gap between the two. And if you're looking for pretty much a guarantee, you might think accounting could be boring, but accounting can actually be exciting.
Yes.
I mean, I've actually sat in classes with accounting professors that really make it come alive in a way that you would be shocked.
Yeah. And it's funny, the impact of AI in accounting is interesting. A lot of students think, oh, well, all the rudimentary functions are going to go away. And well, yeah, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. That may free up you to do the more interesting, the more investigative, the more consultative accounting versus just crunching numbers all day. So it's definitely not as boring as people think.
Let the algorithms do the grunge work, and you'll get the fun work. That's what you need to do. Now, actually, all of this kind of concludes on one level with the next question. What's the true value of a business education? And when I think about that question, I also think about the fact that you're training people to be adaptable. You're training people to be flexible. You're training people to work in ambiguous situations where there's incomplete data sets, and yet decisions have to be made. You're teaching me how to collaborate with others, how to lead others effectively, how to give constructive feedback, even when it's highly critical. These are all the kinds of things that aren't perishable, that will last for your entire career. So I wonder, Rebecca, why don't you just expound on what is the true value of a business degree, and how will business education evolve over the next 5 to 10 years?
I get a crystal ball too. Well, you hit on a lot of it, but really when you break it down, everything is a business. So it's really anything is. And a lot of things that you typically, I guess, didn't think of as a business, maybe a law firm, maybe a hospital, they are now being run by people with business degrees. And those organizations are recognizing the value of business degrees. So anything you learn in a business school is really going to be relevant. And yes, it'll change. Yes, things will grow and expand and new things will come out. But a lot of, John, all the things you just mentioned, it's a lot of those skills. It's critical thinking. It's really, how do I go in and look at a problem a little bit differently? And again, those skill sets are not going away. So as we move forward into whatever's coming in front of us, is these skill sets are still really valuable. And as people change careers, because we know that they will, they can take those skill sets that they started out, let's say they started in accounting, and then let's say they go into a nonprofit, it's still extremely relevant. So
Yep.
Everything that you learn in an undergraduate business program can be used no matter what you want to do.
Christina, your view of the value of a business education?
Yeah, I think to build on what Rebecca said, absolutely, 100%. But I think one of the trends we may see coming through in business schools is not only a focus on those hard and technical skills, but really the human skills that make us unique and valuable when we think about the future of work and technology and AI. AI can't replicate those human skills and the creativity and problem solving. And so I think you'll see that integrated, throughout business education is that uniqueness that we bring to technology.
Michael, will robots ever replace your students in the world of work?
Gosh, no. I hope not, but I don't think so. I think that the technical aspects, anybody can anybody can be trained. And we've heard that from employers. We can train someone on Excel or Tableau or to run our proprietary software. We can't train that person to be curious. We can't necessarily train that person to be creative and have these deep insights and be able to read a room of executives and be able to adapt to what's going on in that room. Robots won't be able to, knock on wood, hopefully won't be able to do that. And I think that's the value of the B school education, is that combination of technical skills and the interpersonal working.
Yeah, totally. And incidentally, major in any other subject, you're not going to get that professional, well-rounded individual, the ability to present, the ability to communicate clearly, the ability to work with others, the ability to lead. These are aspects that are unique to business education. Last question for all of you. What advice do you have for students and their parents about how to choose the right program and the right career aspiration? Rebecca?
Sure. Well, in regards to the right program, I think it's really important to visit different campuses, really, go do the tour, go talk to current students. If you can, sit on different classes, because it's all about the fit. And it's a lot of the academics are going to be pretty similar across all of us and all the other great schools. But it's really where do you like the culture? Where do you like the people? Where are you most comfortable? And that's what I tell students all the time. And my daughter's a freshman at Kelley, which is awesome for me, but she looked around. She applied to lots of different places and really explored. And it's really, really important because it's going to be your home for 4 years. And these are the people that you're going to stay connected with for a really long time.
True. Christina, your advice?
Yeah, I think for me, it's all about two things, and that's experience and relationships. So, what opportunities does the school provide to you to get that real life, hands-on experience, to test out careers, to develop the skills employers are looking for, and then how does it foster relationships, both amongst peers as well as alumni, professionals, and certainly looking at the fit, the right school, the right size, the right location. Those things are really important too, but I think the differentiator might be in terms of the experiences and the relationships.
Yeah, good advice. Michael?
Fit and feel. I can't say it enough. Not every college is the right environment for every student. And it's funny, I have a freshman or well, sophomore currently, not at Miami, and he had no desire to go to a college town. And so, and no desire to go to a school above 20,000 students. So all three of us were out immediately, unfortunately. But he found his place, and I think each student is going to be successful in the environment where they're going to feel comfortable. And I'd rather him go to a place where he's going to be comfortable and finish all 4 years than go somewhere where it's not right for him and be miserable and probably not nearly as successful. So definitely the fit and feel, and then of course the opportunity, the network. And you look at the alumni from Kelley, you look at the alumni from Gies, you look at the alumni from Farmer. There's going to be plenty of successful alumni to work with. You can't go wrong with any of the three, even though I think we all compete for about the same 60,000 students every year between the three of us. You can't really go wrong between the three.
Yeah, I agree with you. Hey, it's been a great session. Really appreciate the time and your insights. Fantastic, really helpful to a lot of people, and will continue to be as they see it on demand. So Michael, Rebecca, and Christina, thank you for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Very welcome.
Thanks so much.
And for all of you out there, good luck on your journey to college and a business education. This is John Byrne with Poets&Quants.